Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back to Big Thing Sith Council. Well, Ahsoka, it's come and gone, man. It's wrapped. So is Season 2 going to happen? Well, at the time that we're recording this, Season 2 has not been picked up yet. That's a new report from Star Wars Newsnet. Still hasn't been picked up, but will it after the strike? So, again, by the time we're pre-taping this, by the time this comes out, maybe it has been picked up. Who knows? The Acolyte apparently cost $7 billion in pre-production. No, but at least $50 million. That's a lot of money for pre-production. Is this going to be one of those shows? You know how excited I am about this show, guys. Is this going to be one of those shows that becomes the next big conversation of disaster for Lucasfilm, or is they actually going to use the money like Titanic did? Remember that? Everyone thought Titanic was going to be a disaster because it spent so much money, and then it became one of the biggest hits of all time. Is that going to happen with Acolyte? Is it going to be really critically acclaimed? I don't know. We'll talk about that. And then we got questions from you guys. Tons of questions from you guys. And I got Frankie Janisch on with me this week to talk about it. So let's do it. Let's do Sith Council. It's me. It's Frank Janisch. Here we go.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sith Council. It's myself. And listen, in this chair, I've had Diego Luna, I've had Katie Sackhoff, but none of them have the statistical information that this man can fit in his head, and that's the one and only Frankie Numbers. What's up, Frank?
Hello,
How
how's
are
it
you?
going? A lot of people have been in this very chair.
That very
Not
chair?
that one, but this one.
No, that's where I put, the hooligans.
Okay.
I put the hooligans
All
in
right,
that chair.
I believe you.
Mike sits in that chair when Steph's
Oh,
here.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I think Steph's coming back soon. Once this, I love having Mike on, but we need that balance with Steph here.
Yeah.
I realize it as I'm listening to the show myself, because he's full dark side.
He really he is, but he's also it is entertaining because I'll tune in and it's just almost to hear what he's gonna say. I'm
thanks.
like, what yeah, exactly.
Just him.
Yeah, I'm like, what cockamamie
Solo
thing is
episodes
he
I don't
gonna
listen
go?
to.
You know?
No, because you don't know what he's going to say, because he's like, although I haven't talked to him about the finale, it'll probably be the first time he and I were on
I'm
the
sure
same
he
page.
hates it.
I'm sure he hates it. I didn't
Yeah.
see someone wrote like, well, why do you hate it? I was like, do you listen to the reviews?
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I said there's a lot of stuff in it. I thought it was I just thought it was poorly written. And like my brother was like, again, there were a lot of people, and I will be fair, because I said I want to do this more in the comments, to address not only just good comments, but positive critiques and back and forth as much as the silly ones. Because there were some silly, I at this point, I just delete these people when it's just like, well, that's the wrong opinion. And then it's like, no.
Yeah.
No. And then right underneath it, there was somebody who wrote, and they go, look, I'm sorry, I'm on the other side of this. I love it. It's essentially what you did last week.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm on the other side of it. I liked it, and here's why I liked it, and I respect the opinion. It's movies and TV.
Yeah.
It's it. It's all you have to say is, okay, you didn't dig it. Even when Mike's here, Mike hates everything. I don't tell him he's, a horrible person, and a lot of people in the comments do. It's like, just, I think it's hilarious.
I'm actually really intrigued why someone doesn't see something the way that I do. I don't go, oh my God, what a horrible take.
You
I
want to
go,
know. You want to hear the
I'm like,
discussion.
that's really interesting. You saw it that way, and I saw it a different way. And that question of why did you see it that way is way more interesting to me, and a way more interesting conversation to have. So
100%. Because I think that's the problem, is that the people who are over the top positive and not budging, and you're in the wrong, and will come after you if you don't agree with it. To me, they're just as bad as the hate mongers. Just as bad.
Yeah.
Because even though but I'm positive about everything. Yeah, but you're being a dick to people if they don't feel because what some of these people, I'm like, have you been watching? I thought that everyone hated the last episode, and I thought it was my favorite, the 7th one.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, and I loved it. And I've loved the whole season. I don't like one episode, and you get people go, oh, but then like I said, you have tons of people in the comments who were great, and there were a lot of people like yourself who really loved this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people that my brother loved the finale. Talking to Roka really enjoyed it. There are a lot of people who really enjoyed it, and again, I respect it. I just didn't love the writing. However, but the same thing I said to you last week is the same thing I said to my brother, to which what he started with was, yeah, but aren't you looking forward to season 2? And I said, yes. Absolutely. I want to see season 2. I'm curious. I really liked where it went, and they set it up well enough with the lore at the end of this episode.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That it sets up new lore and new understanding of what Star Wars is, and I'm very curious how they're going to continue that on.
You know, the season finale was very. My initial watch was I just remember having a great time watching the show as it's going through the episode. I'm just having a great time with everything they're doing.
Right.
And then when you then kind of, at least for me, when I sit back and I go and start talking about the show with all the people and whatnot, I go, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, you bring up a good point. Why didn't Hera and Ezra hug at the end?
Right.
It wasn't something I thought in the moment and where it ruins the scene for me. And that can certainly happen with other people, and that's completely fine. You know, that's just the way they watch it.
Not why you watch Star Wars.
Right.
You watch it for a very different reason, and I love that about the way that you have it. You know, to me, sometimes if there's things that don't make sense, it takes me out of it. But there's sometimes people will go, yeah, but that's just Star Wars, and they're not wrong. There are times that Star Wars just does that kind of thing, and sometimes it bothers me, and sometimes it doesn't. Right? Like, and it bothered me when the entire season they're building up Sabine to use the Force. She can't do it. She finally does it in a good moment, which I liked. I didn't love that she used it because, you know, that was just my stance the whole season.
Yeah.
But when she did, the Death Trooper was gonna kill her, and she's able to use it. That's a cool moment. And then 5 minutes later, she now knows how to use it and has locked into it and can toss Ezra across to a starship. If I'm Ezra, I'm going, no thanks.
Right. But I mean, you know, again, you see it that way, and I go, well, one of the themes or the lessons of the finale was trust.
Sure.
And so it's between Ahsoka trusting Sabine trusting Ahsoka.
Oh, I get why they did it.
Yeah. But I guess to the point is more about the writing and the execution of those moments and how you convey that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I could see someone saying, I think they could have done that better. As opposed to be, if you're just completely cut off to it, well, then there's hardly a conversation to have.
You know what I would have done, though? You know what I would have liked? They could have saved that moment just like that if Ezra would have suggested it. And Ezra goes, throw me. And she goes, I just learned how to do this 2 seconds ago. He's like, trust in yourself.
Certainly.
Close your eyes. You just did it. You can do it again. She said, but I could kill you. Do it. I trust you. And then she does it because they work together. And it's why? Because he came up with it. They don't do it. It's like, come on.
Yeah, because, you know, that also actually plays into when they're first approaching the monument thing, whatever, where Ahsoka's like, help out Sabine. She doesn't know how she's going to help out, but she's like, Sabine, you know what?
Right.
Pitch in. We need everyone here.
Yeah.
And so I think what you just explained there would have fit pretty well, but you know, they went a different way.
They went a different way, but it's little moments like that. That's just in the writing of it, and you can have the same moments, but just tweak them just a little bit, and you can go, oh, okay, I get it. Like, risky move, Ezra, but you guys work together. You've been working together. The theme is trust, and you did it. Same thing, like little things like Thrawn says to Morgan, you need to make sure that they don't get through.
Yeah.
They cannot get through, right? So what does she do? She lets Sabine and what's her face? Sabine and Ezra, they just run right through because she wants to fight Ahsoka. It's like Ezra got on the ship and she failed miserably.
Right.
And she died.
Right.
And it's same thing. Like, no, let the Death Troopers do something. They get into a fight, and then Morgan tries to subdue. She can't hold them back. She tries as hard as she can, and then Ahsoka steps in front, battles them out, and then they escape.
Yeah.
Same moment. Just little writing bits.
It's interesting because, like, I feel like if you just read this script on the page, you'd be like, mine would be blown. Like, whoa, this is great. But then it really does come down to how do they execute these ideas, and the pacing and the action, the choreography, and all that stuff comes into play. That's not necessarily written on the paper. But if I read this in a book, I'd be like, this is incredible.
Well, yeah, but that's what I said to you last week, right? It's like if I saw it in animation, the same way that it was done in this, I would say, okay, that works for animation for sure. Like, it's just little things. Like, why in the world does Ezra get off of the ship and the Rebels ship with his stormtrooper helmet on? Why would he do that? Besides, dramatic effect,
right?
Which is the only reason for it. How did he escape?
That too much. I'm not too bugged by that because it's like, yeah, he's hiding in trooper armor. He probably hid somewhere, found a good opportunity to get the shuttle and got out of there.
Track it?
I mean, I don't know what you could certainly, I guess, throw that in there, but it's just
I'm saying, same thing. Show a quick scene of him battling his way out. He battles his way out. Something happens. He's got
but isn't that pretty predictable? We know he's going to get out, so why? That's one less predictable thing.
It's less money too. It's for sure.
There you go.
I get it. I'm just that one bothered me least less than the other ones for sure. But there's just other little things that I think this could have been fixed. Just little things that just could have been fixed. But overall, getting into the idea that season 2. So this is a report that comes out now from this was from Star Wars Newsnet. All right, now this was an article from last week, and it said Ahsoka season 2 has reportedly not been ordered yet. And again, by the time we're taping this, when it comes, maybe it has been ordered. It's we taped this on the 4th. So by the time you get to next week, the 11th, this could be an old story. But at the time of this, after the finale closed out the first season of Ahsoka, fans might be left wondering if a second season is on the cards. A report indicates that one is brewing, but it has not been officially ordered as of yet. Deadline did a recap of the season finale, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. They made a note about what the future holds in store for Ahsoka showrunner Dave Filoni. They wrote, some fans have speculated that Dave Filoni's standalone feature film, which will be a culmination of his Disney Plus Lucasfilm universe of The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka, centers around Thrawn, and that it is poised to be next. However, we hear that Season 2 is more of a reality in the conversation, but nothing's locked yet. Tonight, there were no place cards teasing that Ahsoka would return in the immediate future. Watching the WGA strike end and the ongoing actor strike has put off production for some time. We've known that a second season of Ahsoka is in the cards for a few months from Rosario Dawson, publicly advocating for it, reports suggesting that it would happen depending on the streaming numbers for the first season. Deadline is now saying that the new season would come before Dave Filoni's theatrical film, which makes a lot of sense considering how the story ended. However, things are apparently up in the air as Disney Plus hasn't greenlit it yet. This actually seems reasonable as we've just finished a 5-month writer strike that landed long before Ahsoka started airing and before Disney could really gauge the audience's engagement with it. Hopefully, Filoni will get the go-ahead sooner rather than later now that he's allowed to write again. Interesting enough, as IO9 spotted, the official Star Wars Twitter account posted a message saying get ready for the series finale of Ahsoka on Tuesday, then deleted it and reposted it saying get ready for the season finale of Ahsoka. Obviously not a lot to read into it. They could have kept their options open. They might have just mistyped. I've done that before and said series finale by accident when you went to season. Between his duties with Star Wars and The Mandalorian, it was set to start filming, by the way, his forthcoming film, serving as the culmination of a fan-dubbed Mandoverse. Filoni has quite a bit of work and is committed to all of it. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, so reading all of that, we talked about this last week, right? The way that it would make sense if they could get it all in time is Skeleton Crew hits in let's say anywhere between January and February of 2024.
Yeah.
Then Acolyte will come out, but that's not connected. And then Mandalorian Season 4 will come out. Now, whether or not that's a movie or whether or not that's an actual season, that will probably come out in sometime in 2025. Probably. Now, Ahsoka Season 2, let's say they greenlight it the end of this year early, and they start Filoni's writing, whatever he's done, and they start shooting at the end of 2024. They could have it ready by the end of 2025, most likely early 2026, right? That gives us time to get into a movie at December 2026. However, Dave Filoni is not going to sleep at all.
Right, that's what I'm wondering about. There's so much work that's been put on a schedule of sorts.
Yep.
I'm just wondering I know they've kind of had quote unquote a break with the strike, which is not really a break because you're still, in a strike, but you're not writing and you're not.
It makes it more stressful because you can't write and you can't work.
Exactly, and now the timelines get shorter. You're trying to squeeze all this stuff in. So that's why I'm not really anticipating a movie till like 2030, to be honest with you. I
mean, it's realistic that this could be done. There's no world where they don't get a Star Wars movie up, and they'll get one out by 2026. Because Bob Iger will roll heads.
That's also true. Yeah,
they haven't had a movie out, dude, since 2019.
That's insane.
Now, this is some people. They didn't have a Star Wars movie out for years. Yeah, because it was inactive. It was inactive. Like Lucas wasn't doing anything with it on purpose. You buy this property for $4.2 billion. It makes you over $5 billion just in the movies alone. It's probably lost some money with Solo, but nonetheless, you've probably made that up hand over fist, and you're not putting movies out. It's like,
what are the odds that talking about this Mando season 4 is either a movie or a season? But what if it's maybe a truncated season, even though it's already somewhat truncated.
Possible.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 episodes, but if I'm Iger and I can see if what I would go is, let me get a meeting with Favreau and say, hey, listen, you finished these scripts before the strike. Can you condense it into a 2-hour and 25-minute movie? And then does it line into what you're saying? And we can make a little money off this thing, and then we'll put it on Disney Plus afterwards, and it'll still tie into it. If I'm Iger, and I can say I'm going to,
Especially have condensed timelines now with pumping these projects out.
because we'll talk about it in a moment. But if the rumors are true, that how expensive Acolyte was, just in pre-production alone, and then you're going to have Mandalorian cost money, then you're going to have Ahsoka cost. Ahsoka is rumored to be like $200 million for the full season or whatever it was, maybe more. So when you look at all that and you're Bob Iger, you go, listen, you have these scripts, and Favreau, come on, just direct something, and you can. Maybe that pops up in 2026 instead. Maybe he does do that.
That would be pretty cool to have a Favreau-directed Star Wars film. And I think if it was like the final quote-unquote season of Mando, it'd be a great way for him to cap this Mando run off. How much is do you want to talk about the Acolyte pre-production or?
Do you want to talk about the pre-production?
Because you threw out the number and I was like, I don't know how much production is supposed to.
We can get into that. Hold on. So this is a report also from Star Wars Newsnet about the Acolyte. Okay, the Acolyte, which was at one point, and it's still up there, my most highly anticipated show because of the time period that it's in. This is a report from Star Wars Newsnet. Grant Davis, the Acolyte might end up being one of the most expensive Star Wars television series yet, as a new report indicates that Lucasfilm spent over $49 million on the series before filming ever began.
Oh my! What are they building every set?
They're building the Millennium Falcon to work for real. According to Forbes, the bill for the show's pre-production budget has come in at $49.2. Lucasfilm spends so much money; it is insane. It's insane how much money.
That's a lot of money.
Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah,
dude, it's insane. Wow.
How much is these numbers in part due to the economy that we're in and that affects prices? I don't know.
How much prices? $49.2 million. Prices are one thing, dude. But let's see what it is.
Yeah.
Thanks to legal documents tried to spending on television series that are filmed in the UK, this does not, however, make it the most expensive pre-production for a new Star Wars series. Andor reportedly spent $67.9 on pre-production costs, with the caveat that the budget was inflated due to filming during the time of COVID-19 and having subsequent safety protocols inflating the budget. Okay, well that makes sense. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the total budget of that series ended up around $250. Although bear it in mind that it was a 12-episode first season, while The Acolyte has an 8-episode run. Given reports that Lucasfilm's production team tend to aggressively spend money on their projects, sizable budgets on Star Wars projects being spent day one of filming should not be very surprising. For frame of reference, the pre-production bill on Rogue One came in at $44.7 million, just $5.5 less than The Acolyte. Granted, it's not an apples-to-apples comparison between a show and a film, but that indicates that Disney Plus series could be one of the costlier undertakings that Lucasfilm has engaged in since expanding the Star Wars franchise's live-action aspirations to the small screen. Meanwhile, The Last Jedi had a pre-production budget of around $57.6. The Acolyte is set toward the end of the period in Star Wars history known as the High Republic, which is set anywhere from several decades to several centuries before the events of the prequel trilogy, the Clone Wars, and related works, with showrunner Leslie Headland indicating that the series is about 100 years before the events of Phantom Menace. The series is the first live-action project set in the era, with the Disney Junior series Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures being the first animated project. Series is to premiere on Disney Plus sometime next year. The Forbes article makes a mention of speculation that Keanu Reeves may have a cameo in the series, but at this time, this should be taken as a wild rumor and not fact. There has been a rumor about that for a little bit.
That's actually the first time I've heard about the Keanu one.
Oh, we've talked about it on this show, Sith Council, Frank.
You must have
missed that one.
I must have fast forwarded.
Yeah, that's fine. But no, it was a rumor. It's one of the reasons that they said it was so expensive.
God, that would just fuel the Revan series like no
great.
other. Yeah,
that'd be great if he's got a cameo. If it's a cameo, then it's a good chance. Because from Leslie Headland, from what I've heard, has read a lot of the books, gone back to the Old Republic stuff, read those types of things.
Huge fan of that series. Yeah.
That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So the hope with this is that if you're spending, because you look at those projects that they talked about spending the money, they all look damn good.
Mm-hmm.
They all look, say what you want about, I know you're a fan of it, but like Last Jedi still looked pretty damn good.
Oh, it looked great, yeah.
And that cost the least out of all of them. Now you look at Andor looked pretty damn good. The other thing that it has going for it, it shot in a lot of real locations and didn't really rely on the volume as much. That, I mean,
they built that whole town. I mean, that's.
I'm telling you, I'm very excited for this show for so many different reasons. It just makes me nervous now because everything freaking Lucasfilm does right now makes me nervous because they as they said, they spend so much money.
Yeah, because then you're really banking on huge successes for these properties to get your money back and make money, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely, I can't imagine what kind of pressure these producers and showrunners are under to deliver on budgets like this. So, yeah, I think I'm a pretty casual fan when it comes to the money side of filmmaking and TV, but it's like, if I want them to keep making these shows, I hope they're successful, and maybe they can somehow figure out how to make them a little bit cheaper, which is what I thought. Like the volume is supposed to help with, reducing costs instead of like building actual locations and stuff, but replicating it in the volume. So and to speed up production. So
I think things are going to change, and it goes back to the previous conversation we were having about Mandalorian and Ahsoka season 2, which we really didn't touch on too much, but like Ahsoka season 2, which we can bleed into this conversation. Ahsoka season 2, I think, will happen, but one of the main reasons they hinted at it in the interview, or the article rather, the strike. I mean, and not because people are on hiatus, which is a big thing, but because the studios don't know what they're going to approve and not approve, and what they're going to cut back on spending.
Yeah.
Netflix is already going to raise their prices again because now they got to give bonuses to writers. They're going to have to give bonuses to actors. So they got to find ways to get more money to pay people now because they had all the ways that they were going to do it. Now they're going to have to. Now they're raising their prices, and they're going to lose a lot of business though from people though too, because there's only so much you're going to, especially like Netflix. Netflix to me, there's like a few shows that I'll watch on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like Stranger Things, One Piece. I'm sure there's a couple other things here and there, but when those
Squid Game I tuned in for,
right, but there's a few shows here and there that I'll tune into, but they have a lot of crap, like a lot of crap.
I don't even have a personal subscription to Netflix.
Right.
One of my roommates does, and it's like
so. But Disney Plus has a rhythm to it because whether you're into Star Wars or not, well, if you listen to this show, clearly you are. But like right now, Loki's going to start, or Loki's on right now, right? So if you're Marvel, all right, well, I'll stick around. I'm not gonna drop. Well, then you got my kids really love Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson's coming out. You got Percy Jackson. Yeah, but you know what? My kids watch all those Disney movies and Disney shows and all that stuff too. So they've got Apple, I think, is doing it right.
Apple's got great stuff
because they're putting it's quality, and you know when it's coming out. And, so like that's the thing that all these streamers are going to have to find out right now and figure out before they can go. Okay, yeah, you know what? Greenlight Ahsoka season 2. Bob Iger doesn't know he's paying people yet. He doesn't know how much money he wants to. He just spent $50 million in pre-production on the Acolyte, which. No familiar characters. Now, look at
that is pretty wild.
Look at the craziness of the fact that Lucasfilm was so shy on pulling the trigger on anything that didn't relate to the Skywalker saga. Anything. They were and even the one that did, Obi-Wan, got screwed.
Yes.
They spent $13 and a Snickers bar on that show. And it showed with the Benny Hill music and Flea running around the joint, like it showed. And this show doesn't connect to anything at all. I love that. But it's just crazy that they're spending that kind of money.
It is surprising. I mean, when you hear the number, because I was thinking the same thing, like, man, this isn't, it has like, there's a following with the book series, but it's not on the level of even animation.
No.
For that matter. So it is pretty surprising, but, from the things I've been hearing and sort of seen, I'm pretty excited for it. But will that translate to looking amazing on the screen and storytelling and all that? I hope so. It better.
I mean, it has to.
It has to.
At this point, it has to. And the benefit of it, if it works out, and if they do it right, again, this is a matter of this isn't a Leslie Headland thing as much as this is a Kathleen Kennedy thing, and I get nervous when it comes to this, is that let's say that this show's a massive hit, and it's like the Game of Thrones of Star Wars, and they're like, whoa, you thought Andor was good. Why don't you check out this show? Like, this show's I can't believe they did this with this show. They went there. This type of show is, they've never done anything like this in Star Wars. And what they would be able to do if that was the case, if this was like the water cooler show that did it all, you play in that era now. In movies, you play there for season 2, you branch that off, and you play there for a while. The same way that you play in House of the Dragon and those other things, you play there for a bit. As opposed to going, all right, well, now let's go do a Yoda movie. Or Yoda will probably be in High Republic, by the way, so that probably is the one recognizable character. Yeah.
He'll be in you got to be popping in some trailer that goes public eventually.
I'm sure. Yeah, because that's probably how they're going to loop him in. Because it would make sense but that's what I'm saying, though, for some people who don't know well enough, like casual, I had to put Yoda in it. Why?
But you know what? They also recognize a ton of lightsaber swinging.
Sure.
So you're going to get your eyeballs just from that. So that's what people want. They want Andor with lightsabers.
Yeah.
And then that's what Acolyte kind of sounds like.
It does. You know what else they want, though? Good food. And if you want good food, you got to go to Green Chef. Green Chef is delish. It's really delish. And I also want to tell you about Nutrafol. I've told you about Nutrafol before. I'm so glad that they're back. They are super helpful. It's incredible. I'll tell you about both of them right now. You guys know Green Chef. I've been talking about Green Chef forever. I love them. I've been so excited to continue to work with them because I've been eating really good, as I mentioned before, not only with other vitamins and stuff I'm taking, but I'm eating really well. And the reason why I'm eating so well is because Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating clean with dinners that work for you, and it's not the other way around. You can eat clean the easy way with recipes that help manage your weight and support your wellness goals without skimping on flavor. I talk about it all the time. I do my own. I make like quesadillas now, and I can throw stuff on the grill. They have really good meat, good burgers, and they have everything that you can actually. If you don't like burgers, you want to eat vegan more, they can do that too. You can enjoy effortless plant-based dining with Vegan Kickoff, which is a brand new limited time options, including delicious vegan breakfast, lunches, dinners, and sides. They have everything. They deliver everything you need to eat clean the easy way for the rest of the summer. You can feel your best with nutritionists approved recipes packed with clean ingredients that support your healthy lifestyle, and they taste great too. So if you want to check it out, please go and do it because they're really amazing. You get ahead of the busy season with their convenient step-by-step recipes. They have dinners that are ready in like 25 minutes or less. I'm telling you, it was so easy for me, and I'm an imbecile when it comes to cooking. And it was so great. I mean, I love them. If you go to greenchef.com/60thing, greenchef.com/60thing, and use that code 60thing, you'll get 60% off plus free shipping. It is worth the shot. Go and give it a whirl, as the World Girls would say. It is so good. I love it, and you'll love it too. So make sure you check it out. That is Green Chef, everybody. Don't be embarrassed. Don't do it. Listen, did you know that 80% of men will experience hair thinning in their lifetime? It's normal, guys. But it doesn't have to be your fate. You can get ahead of thinning with Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements use physician-formulated, natural, science-backed ingredients. Their drug-free, patented technology provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sexual health. Go to Nutrafol.com/men to take their hair wealth wellness quiz. Identify causes of your thinning hair, and Nutrafol will give you a personalized plan for better hair health through whole body wellness. It works. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol men's hair growth supplements. Everybody feels this way as you're getting older. You're like, oh man, am I the only one? Why is this happening to me? This and that. We're in an age now where you can get it helped. You can get it fixed. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men, but you have to enter that promo code BIGTHING. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men. Nutrafol.com/men and enter that code BIGTHING. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code BIGTHING. All right, thank you to our friends over at Green Chef and Nutrafol. As I've mentioned to you guys many times over, and I don't want to thank you also, is that I've been getting messages from people who say, hey, I heard your message. I heard what you're saying. I heard that, if I'm able to and I get a sponsor, it helps out your show. Is that accurate? I said, yes, it helps out the show more than you could possibly imagine. And it also gives you something cool. And whether it's Nutrafol or whether it is Green Chef, by the way, make yourself some of that food. I make those quesadillas, Frank. Yeah. Oh, man, they're so good. And the rice bowls. Have you tried Green Chef yet?
Not Green Chef. I've tried Athletic Greens. But
Athletic Greens is good too, but Green Chef, though.
Green Chef.
Green Chef is like, and you can, they send these big boxes to my house. And it's like Christmas. Like the organic chicken, and like they give you all the stuff to make.
That's nice when they do that for you.
It's great. And it saved my life during like when my family went away for the weekend. And I was here just with us, and I was like cooking up a storm in there, and it was easy. They give you the instructions and everything. Anyway, so go and check it out, and I appreciate it. All right, let's get to some of these questions, Frank. We got a bunch of questions that came in.
Great.
I told people you were coming in, and they were very excited.
Oh boy.
I don't know if that's true, but no, it's not. But let's. But here we go. So this first one here is from Matt Maitland, who says, "What are the must-read Star Wars books?" That's hard for me to say, because I've been pretty public about it. And I think when you found Jedi Council, I was like reading everything.
Yeah.
I read everything because I got hornswoggled. I got hornswoggled up top because when they told you in the beginning is that everything was canon, everything was going to connect, things were going to be in the movies and everything.
Yeah.
Similar to what James Gunn has said recently, but he, in my opinion, did it the right way. He said there's going to be a line that's canon, then there'll be other stuff outside of it that's not. Right, there'll be stuff. Yeah. I'm talking about in the comics and the books.
Yeah.
There'll be certain things inside. There'll be a comic line, the video games, and those one line that'll carry all the way through in the movies, and it'll be continue on. They said Lucasfilm in 2012, everything's canon, everything. So I'm reading things, and then they change things left and right. And I remember asking Filoni about it. Filoni doesn't pay attention to any of the books. He didn't say that, but you could tell he doesn't care about any of the books. There's some things, so many contradictions in Rebels and Clone Wars, the things in the books he doesn't give. Maybe the Ahsoka book because he was consulted.
Well, even that, some people are like,
right,
doesn't look like,
because there's just too much stuff to keep up with.
There is
that he said as much. So to me, what the real canon is comic books. The video games, which is what 3 the stories, the Jedi Survivor ones.
Yeah.
There's two of them.
Well, there's Squadrons that plays a little bit into.
Oh yeah, and I guess the Jaina Gavankar Battlefront story too.
Yeah.
So those, and then the animation series, the television series, and the movies. That's it. Now that doesn't answer your question about what the novels are, and I also don't take and by me saying that it doesn't. I'm not telling people don't read these books. I'm telling you, I don't read them anymore because that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was looking for something different when I read them. However, those novels, the canon ones, Lost Stars, Bloodline, both by Claudia Gray, Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp. And these are like the earlier ones because I can't tell you about ones that have come out in the last 5 years. So I don't read them anymore. Have you read any of them?
Yeah. So I agree with Bloodlines and. Lost Stars, especially Bloodline now with the Ahsoka stuff. You want to get a little more into the Leia stuff in this time period. It's a good book to get into. If you're still curious about like Force Ghost Anakin, I would recommend Shadow of the Sith. That came out not too long ago.
Okay.
There's a great chapter in that book that I don't know if I want to give spoilers on that, but I would say it's worth your time. It's a great book overall. It's Luke and Lando, and
I have that
and
one.
it's kind of like Luke searching for artifacts and stuff like that, and holocrons and stuff. It's
so it's like
read.
the search. It's like the reference that Lando makes in the last movie.
Yeah, in Rise. Yeah, so that's especially, and if you do like.
PJ was talking about that, right? PJ loves that book.
Yes, it's a great read.
Okay.
Especially if you do love the sequel trilogy, you might want to give that one a shot.
Okay.
I'm trying to, because I also don't read that many books. I will say, I think fun reads are from a certain point of view books, where you get those little stories and stuff like that. They're not necessarily canon, but
they said that they were.
I mean, you can. These are tales, so it's like loose fable.
I'm telling you right now, go into all of these books as if none of it is canon. I'm telling you, go into because one of the main comments that set me that I was like, wait a minute, was during the novel stuff, and someone asked like Pablo Hidalgo at the time about, well, wait a minute, they said that this happened, but in the movie this happens. and he said something along these lines. I'm misquoting it, but along the lines of, well, if it happened, the stuff that's in the book that's not in the movie is canon, but if it's in the movie and it's different, it's not. It's like, what? What? No.
Yeah, I mean,
no, we got to follow. And it's like, so that's why when people are like, you should, and to me, to answer the question as far as the best novels to read, my favorite, Darth Bane trilogy, hands down, and Darth Plagueis. Those are the books to read, because I just am waiting for the day that someone takes that James Lucerno book and says, let's make this miniseries. Let's make 6 episodes, hour and 10 minutes apiece. The Rise of Palpatine with this, and you want to also you'll get the Jedi and you'll get the other politicians.
Yeah.
You'll have a good guy in it too, and it's a freaking, that's the real mob story that they wanted to tell. That's it. And then Bane, if they could do the Bane story, but
well, here's wishing, here's hoping.
Yeah, I got a pig coming to fly out of my ass pipe in a second too. All right, here we go. So we got the next one coming out. This Urban Excursion. What are the chances that we get a live-action Clone Wars movie with at least Hayden, Ewan, and possibly the actress who played young Ahsoka? I mean, this popped when that came up. Everybody was hoping for this because during Mando, like, oh, we're going to see Clone Wars. We're going to see this. And we finally got a chance to see it. I think Filoni spent a lot of time in Clone Wars in the animation, and as freaking cool as that would be to see it, where does it really go?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You covered so much ground in the 7 seasons. Yeah. What nook or cranny are you going to uncover to tell a story that we haven't seen before? And people will say, well, you can just redo some of the arcs and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but that's just redoing something that's already been on my TV, And
the animated side of it, yeah. The books, I don't think it makes as much of a thing. But here's a question. Why have they not made any Star Wars Disney Plus movies?
That's a good question. I mean, because maybe they feel like they can make a lot of money in the theater, first of all.
Sure.
And so, I mean, are you talking about just like exclusively on Disney Plus, or?
Yeah, but I'm saying why not do a smaller budget Star Wars movie that instead of doing a 8-hour, 30-minute episode thing, do a 2-hour movie and put it on. And you don't think that, like, Solo is an example. Solo would have been a great Disney Plus movie if they would have done that.
Sure,
it would have been a better Disney Plus movie than it was a theatrical.
Well, you also don't release it during Endgame.
There's a lot of there's a lot of reasons why that's involved, for sure.
Still, yeah.
For sure. I don't disagree with that. But Infinity War.
But true.
But
that would have been cool to see, like that, like a smuggler Sears Han Solo.
Yeah,
totally.
But something like if you're gonna do like, let's say you're gonna do a Sith, like a Darth Bane thing, you've got a better shot at making that a 2-hour movie on Disney Plus. If you're not going to do a series, than you would in the theater, because it's hard to lead with a bad guy in a movie. For a widespread audience, you can do it in TV. It's harder to do it on Disney TV, but you can still do it on TV.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process. But they're so tied up in this Mandoverse right now and everything too. You're looking at 2027 to 28 before it's even
also a Clone Wars live action TV show. It would be an insane amount of money to make that show. To do it right,
style, yeah.
Exactly, Band of Brothers. You have to, like, if we had 10 episodes, Band of Brothers style Clone Wars, sign me up. But A, we've already covered so much ground. And B, it would cost an insane amount of money to do that right, especially nowadays. And you look at pre-production just for Acolyte was $50 million. What do you think of pre-production on that scale?
No, it's true, and I think we've covered it enough. But
it would have been cool.
It would have been great. Look, I'm not going to complain if they say it's going to happen. It'll be great. All right, here's the next one. John Crumb. Crumb laughs at you. Who do you think will be billed as the lead character for Filoni's movie? Will it be Mando, Ahsoka, Ezra, or another modern character? Or will they focus on Luke, Han, and Leia, like the original heir to the Empire? Well, there's no way they're going to focus on Luke, Han, and Leia. Now, whether or not Luke, Han, and Leia show up with, Indiana Jones like CGI faces, that probably will happen in. I think they'll probably show up in some big scene or something. They won't be a big part of the movie. So then the question is, who is the lead of the film? What do you think?
If it's Dave Filoni directing the film, it's going to be Ahsoka.
I think you're right.
If it's Dave Filoni,
Yeah.
it's going to be Ahsoka. Depending what happens with the season 2 Ahsoka, I could see Ezra possibly, depending.
I think your
He'd be-
first instincts were right.
Well, that's where I put all my money. But if I had to pick someone else other than Ahsoka, I would go Ezra because I think Amon Esfandi has the goods. He is phenomenal as Ezra. I would watch him lead a movie. I really would.
So-
I haven't seen that much of him, but I would.
So I think he is good. My pick was Mina Mossad when they were, but I think he did a great job.
Yeah.
It's his first. I think he's done theatrical stuff, but he's never done anything on film or TV before.
Okay.
So trusting him with a full movie would be risky. Didn't mean he couldn't do it, but I also don't think that the audience is engaged enough with Ezra yet to give him that full call. Star Wars fans, and that was the other thing I said to my brother, by the way, before I answer this question. Ahsoka was made for hardcore Star Wars fans.
Sure.
This was not made for the casual audience. So if I'm, again, Bob Iger, I'm going, guys, we need something for a little bit more that can move over to the casual, because it lost a lot of casual fans.
But if season 2 Ahsoka does a lot for the character of Ezra, that's where I think that's where my opinion
I
would
think
be
it's
predicated
Mando.
on.
I think it's Mando. Mando's the second backup.
I mean, yeah,
because
that's Mando and Grogu. I mean, that's
it's
there
Mando
you
and
go.
Grogu,
Yeah, that's
because
true.
Mando and Grogu brought Star Wars back into the conversation again after Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi almost tore it apart. So I think that because it had a weak third season, people forget how powerful Mando season
true.
1 and season 2 were, and even how powerful they were in Book of Boba Fett. There was the only reason people thought it was watchable was because of those 2 episodes with
And that
Mando.
meat locker was like a wrestling
best.
entrance. Get that
Bryce Dallas Howard episode was
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
So I think I think you're absolutely right, though. He loves Ahsoka. It's his baby, and he's always wanted to see Ahsoka in the line. I think Ahsoka would probably be the lead, or the two of them.
Coley, yeah.
Or the two of them.
I mean,
I don't think
hopefully get
Sabine. I don't think Sabine should be the focus. I don't, as much as Lizzie was it Lizzie Bordeaux, is her name?
Natalie Lee Bordizzo.
Natalie Lee Bordeaux. I think she's a good actress, but I don't think she's there yet for a lead.
Yeah, I'll also say this in terms of Ahsoka season 1. I started really, really high on her portrayal as Sabine, and as the series went on, I got a little less and less and less.
Me too.
And I don't think that was necessarily her fault per se, but just kind of the way her story unfolded,
writing,
or
man.
lack of
Just the writing.
unfolding it, but unfolded, whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I agree, but I still think she's really talented. And
She's
I think she
good.
did a great
Yeah.
job. But yeah, Mando, Grogu, and Ahsoka on a post, like,
Yeah, for sure.
gonna pack the house.
Yeah, and it's just, but it goes back to the earlier points that I made last week, is that, and you made at the end of last episode, was that he is on Dathomir, Thrawn, so the threat could get bigger. I just don't think he's done anything yet to make me like. I thought that Balin was a much stronger villain than Thrawn. Like, who would you be if right now, from the way that they set it up? If you're a Star Wars hero, who are you more scared of if you have to face Balin or Thrawn?
Yeah, it's definitely Balin.
Right.
He has more mystery surrounding
Yeah.
him. You know, we don't know as much, so I think there's an element of that plays into why. Because we know, if you watch Rebels,
Yeah, but
and you
if
read
you
the
didn't,
books-
so if you
Yeah,
didn't, let's say
yeah.
if you're a fresh-faced person going into it, who's
oh yeah,
scarier?
just straight up from the series, yeah, you would have to say Balin. You're
Yeah.
just more intrigued.
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a
yeah,
problem.
yeah. I will be curious though what they do with Thrawn in terms of the Night Sisters, because I feel like they're gonna butt heads on Dathomir, and then he's gonna call the Imperial Remnant to come just nuke this planet, get rid of the Night Sisters, and then he goes off and then has a fight with the Republic.
He needs to wreck shop.
Yeah,
He needs to wreck
and
shop.
he'll do it
Yeah.
on the Night Sisters.
He
I
needs
think.
to absolutely wreck shop and not just have dead stormtroopers who can't do anything. He needs to get people who can do stuff, and
Yeah.
he needs to wreck shop. It's like someone was in the comments was like, "Oh, you just wanted to see everybody die? Is that what it's like?" No, I wanted to see the villain who's supposed to be the big threat leading into a movie. Like, if this was the end of the movie, okay, he escapes and it's setting it up for a sequel. But we're in this place where it's like, why am I scared of him? Why should the Republic be scared of him? Like right now,
Yeah.
why should they be scared of him? It's like all they got to do is catch that ship, and Sabine and Ezra and Ahsoka fought off 20 of them. So they'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I hear all those concerns and critiques, and totally, I'm like, I can't really say anything about that other than for me personally, I'm like, well, they got a lot of work to do in season 2 to
what
build
it is.
them up, you know. So if you do that, then it's like, okay, season 1's a good preamble to the havoc he's going to wreak on the galaxy.
Right. So, but would you agree though that if he doesn't, he's got to win in the second season? If you're leading, and people are going to go, why can't he lose in the second? Because you're leading to a movie. He's supposed to be the bad guy in the movie. That's why.
Yeah. That's why I think an easy way to do that is for him to just annihilate Dathomir, that planet of the people, again after he brings them back, which would just be like devastating.
That'd be great. Yeah. And so this is the other point that I wanted to bring this up last week. I was talking to my brother about this. I want to see get your opinion on it. It goes back to the writing of that episode, right? Mm-hmm. So people are like, oh, you wanted to see one of the main people die? They couldn't die. No, they couldn't die. I agree. But it also was one of the problems. So when Thrawn's raining this fire down on him, you're like, well, they're not going to kill any of them. And if they kill Ezra, everybody's going to be pissed off. They're not going to kill Sabine. She's the main character. And they're not going to kill Ahsoka because she's the main character. Right. So everyone's fine. If you would have done something like, did you watch Stranger Things this last season?
The last season, I have not actually.
Okay. So I'm just going to say there's a character. There's certain characters that you get set up with. Mm-hmm. Okay. And this is, I'm not going to spoil it, but just in case, you know, if you haven't seen Stranger Things, and I won't spoil it for you, but there's characters that are introduced, and let's say someone gets introduced, and inside of this, Ezra and whatever it is, instead of just the turtle people, and spend a little more money if you're going to, and create a village, and create people that you start to in the whatever 4th or 5th episode, maybe when they get there instead, and there's 2 or 3 new characters, and you're like, oh, I like them. I like them a lot. They're cool and they crack jokes. Yeah. But they're funny. They're one of them's got a heart of gold. One of them doesn't trust Ezra, but by the end,
kind of like was it season 2 with Bob Sean Astin's character, where he like that.
So it's like, but you set up but whatever. But many shows have done it where you set in one season brand new characters that start from the beginning that you get, and maybe they even come with them over from our galaxy, right? And they're the scapegoats. They're the ones that at the end Thrawn kills. But you're so attached to them throughout it, and you get a recognizable kind of actor and a great actor that everyone loves, and you kill him off. And then Thrawn, you suck, Thrawn.
Yeah.
And because then it's like, and that's just simple writing, putting in there, going, okay, if I have those characters in there, that throughout the whole season, they're not going to make it, but we're going to love them, and we're going to make them love them. So by the time we get there, they're going to hate us that we killed them, and they're going to hate Thrawn even more. And that wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah. I don't. But also at the same time, wax on Miyagi.
Bastard.
At the same time, it doesn't, bother me as much as it does other people. And that's just, that's me. But again, I completely see what you're saying. And that type of execution and storytelling, I've seen it before, and I love it, and I like when it happens. Yeah. But,
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that as you are too, season 2, if it does go down, he needs to be causing some shit.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, next one. This is from Justin Schultz, 4325. How do you feel about magic and witchcraft being in Star Wars? I dig it. And it's, again, because I watched Clone Wars. I watched, I've read the books, I read the comics, and I've always argued against people when they say Star Wars is science fiction. It's not. It's sci-fi fantasy.
Right.
So if there's certain elements that lead into this and that it's witchcraft, and what they didn't explain well enough, I think, in Ahsoka is that the witches of Dathomir are using the Force. They're using, They're using the Force, and it's just they're using it in different ways, and they're able to conjure it in a way that is seen as
they really
magic.
Bastardized the Force with when you call it magic like that and witchcraft.
Yeah.
I think it when you think about it, the Force, it's magic.
It's magic.
So why wouldn't you have another alternate form of that aside from the dark side? Where it's a little more visceral. You can actually see with your eyes, and I think it's I remember in the Clone Wars, it kind of tripped me out, like, what is this? And then they just ended up really doing a great job of utilizing it and installing it in the galaxy, and I'm like, hell yeah. I'm like, when I was getting word, that they were going to be in Ahsoka, and even in Jedi Fallen Order, Dathomir and the Witches, like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. It's kind of, really delving into the fantasy aspect. Yeah, it's a sci-fi fantasy. Right. It has sci-fi elements, but Ahsoka went so much more into the fantasy, especially when you get towards Balin's, angle and all
that's
that.
That's where the evolution of Star Wars does come in, right? Like you got to be able to change things up too, and as long as it fits into it, there's been crate dragons and other things. Why can't there be magic?
Yeah,
that didn't bother me at all. I actually really enjoyed it, and I love that they brought it in there. I got crap for it, Frank, when the trailer came out, and I said, "Oh, that was a Witch of Dathomir." He said, "No, it's not." I was like, "Yes, it was. It was a Witch of Dathomir." When she goes into the first episode, when Ahsoka goes down
into the tomb thing.
to the
Yeah,
tomb,
yeah,
they
yeah.
showed it, and I said, "That was a Witch of Dathomir." I said, "No, it was a Jedi." I'm like, "No, that was a Witch of Dathomir."
Yeah.
And then that person never came back and said, "You were right." I'll tell you that.
They still watch probably though.
I'm sure they did. All right, here's the next one. This is from Mladen Kulik 446. Do you think we are going to have less Star Wars content due to VFX artists from Disney and Marvel having unionized to strike? No, I don't think we're going to have less content. What I think what they're going to have to start to do is balance. And I think they're going to start to do more of kind of what Andor did, right? And what Acolyte doing with relocations. Now I know that all those still call for VFX, but not overworking these poor VFX artists into the ground to get all these major big super shots that they don't need. And the way that they do it is that they hire whatever house is available is going to do it for cheap. And it's like those days I think are coming to an end. And I actually think it's going to be a good thing because they won't overwork these people. And I think that we're getting back to that place where we're just relying on VFX again to tell stories. And it's just like, guys, just tell the story with good writing.
It's interesting too because you'll watch some movies from the '90s or action movies and see all the practical stunts they do. I just rewatched all the Lethal Weapon series.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like,
good for you.
Like the stunt, like where it was in the first or second one, I think, where Riggs is on the car in a truck, like that would all be CGI.
Oh yeah,
it would all be. You don't get that stuff anymore today. Maybe you get a Mad Max Fury Road or one of the rare ones.
It's rare. Yeah, because they're like, well, why put the risk on the actor? Why do this? Why do that?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but that's what the movie making goes into. And it's like there's I wish they would go back to kind of simple filmmaking. And it's also why the budgets get ballooned.
Mm-hmm. Go back to Indiana Jones and the last one, in the beginning when there's a wide shot of Indy walking on the top of the train, it's all digital. It's like we can't even do a live action shot of that.
Because for some reason for that one, and I'd like to really find out how much of it was actually they just de-aged Harrison Ford, right, and used his body in the same way they did the Irishman, which always is the worst. And so when
the curb stop scene,
we're not going to have
right.
But they're not going to have him walking on the train, for whatever it is. But I think that the stuff that they did in Book of Boba Fett was just so much better with Luke. They had this 30-year-old guy or whatever the hell he was, and they stuck Mark Hamill's head on him.
It looks great to me.
It looked great.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of stuff that I wish they would have done more with.
But the other part is with these visual effects houses and stuff. I hope because of all this stuff that we get better looking visual effects because, like you said, you're not going to be burning out these artists and you're not going to be, just giving it off to the lowest bidder to do the job.
Did you see The Creator?
Not yet.
Okay. So The Creator should be the example of how, I think it was like $120 million or $130 million, right? Still going to wind up making a loss, but it's not the point of this. The point of it is, as far as $130 million, whatever it was, and it looked so much better than, say, like The Flash, which The Flash cost like $260 million to make, and it looked like the Scorpion King in certain scenes, right? This movie, The Creator, looks beautiful, and it is just, the VFX are like next level. They're just so good. They're so good, and like that's the kind of stuff.
That's Lucasfilm, right? Or Skywalker. That's ILM.
Is it? Maybe so, but it's like. But look, the point is, you can spend $130 million. Now, budgets also inflate from actors and bigger actors and costs and things and reshoots and that. Sure, but you can just tell that they relied on the story and that VFX kind of scratched the story's back, as opposed to throw some dialogue into the VFX. And that's what happens a lot of times. And again, Indiana Jones, the ending of that movie, not the last scene, but the big climax, the big scene, that probably cost close to $60 to $80 million itself. Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Last Crusade, old man in a cave.
Right, exactly. On a soundstage, probably.
That's
right.
it.
This is like
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
so-
I long for those days.
Yeah, me too. But I just think that they don't think audiences will, like the younger, the TikTok audience
Sure.
can deal with it.
Sure.
And they might not be wrong. All right. Next question. Now, this is Captain Mexico. He said, I watched the leaked Acolyte trailer, and they changed the logo, which gave off dark side vibes to a more Jedi-centered style. Do you think this happened because the original story was scrapped for a new one? Well, that makes me nervous. They've already sold it that it's a Sith story. They've already sold it. It's called Acolyte, for God's sakes. Now, Carrie Ann Moss is in, and are they going to focus more so on the good guys now because of what I said before, that Disney can't handle having a bad guy in the lead? Because that's what it seemed, because Leslie Hemlin answered a couple times, this is the bad guy story.
I wonder if it's more of an ensemble type of approach. Yeah, Carrie Ann Moss is a big name, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know how much to a younger audience.
Yeah,
but,
sure, she's not like a major superstar.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, she's been in Marvel stuff, you know, the Netflix Marvel stuff. So, I mean, there's
Oh, right.
some recognition
but still,
there.
But
Sure,
not
sure,
not a mega star.
Right.
Keanu Reeves, though.
Right, you get him in cameo, and that's going to draw a lot of eyes. Amanda Stenberg, I think. I mean, she's an up and coming.
Yeah, but still,
actress.
not. I mean,
So, like,
Keanu Reeves would be the only name, and the only other reason I think that Keanu Reeves is more likely to be in this is because of Carrie Ann Moss.
that's a good point. That's a great point.
They're friends. They're pretty good friends.
That'd be very cool to say. I hope that happens.
Yeah.
But that's why I kind of think maybe it's a little bit more of an ensemble approach where you're not really sure who's like the star.
Right.
Might be more of a dominant storyline on the quote unquote light side of the Force
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the dark side. But I think, you know, from everything I've heard, you know, especially with Leslie Hemlin telling kind of how the Sith kind of infiltrate and get their claws in there without, you know, the Jedi realizing what's happening. I think there's a lot of story to tell there, and to like just maybe pay not that much attention to it and just be like, it happened. I don't think that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
it's going to be spread around, I think.
I guess, but it's just I look. I haven't seen the leak trailer. I don't know, but if they changed the logo, if they changed the approach, I've only actually seen, because they showed the trailer at Star Wars Celebration this year. Where was it? In London.
London,
It was in
yeah.
London, right? So
Yeah.
they showed it in London, and then that never hit the internet. I think it hit it leaked, and
It did,
I saw a bit of it. I couldn't see anything. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't really tell.
I
You
mean,
saw it?
I did.
Yeah.
And thanks, Kevin Smets, because he's
Yeah.
notorious.
Yeah.
But and from the stuff that I'd seen, like I'm like, I can't wait to see this in 1080p. You
Right,
know,
right.
And because I'm just some of the movements I can see and whatnot, I was like, oh, this has got a touch of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon stuff, and it's
Okay.
like,
yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it in
it's-
good quality.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it in high quality whenever
Yeah.
they can figure out what's going to air. But I that's why, and I think like I could not. I know it's like a teaser, so it's hard to really
Yeah.
figure out who might be the lead. But
When do you think it's going to air? Because Skeleton Crew is supposed to come out in November or December. That's clearly going to be pushed. I think that hits in like February or March. Who knows what Marvel show is going to come out after that? So Acolyte's probably going to be
end of next
probably
year.
August,
Oh, maybe middle.
August,
okay.
September, like the same time as Ahsoka.
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Especially now with the strikes and all that.
And
pushed it back.
Mandalorian's not anywhere
Yeah.
near.
That
yeah.
one's high on the. That's probably at the top of the list. I'm with you. Like in terms of what I want to
If
see.
it delivers the way that if it delivers in the way that I hope it will, it'll probably be my favorite show of all time, because it's got everything that I love about Star Wars, like
Yeah.
that old school Sith versus Jedi. I mean, I still want to see all the Sith back before the Rule of Two started, with all the sabers battling the Jedi in the battlefield Game of Thrones style, like that.
Oof.
Like that. I'm waiting for that. If it's ever going to happen, I don't know. I don't know what Mangold's film is going to be about. I have no idea. But I know they've been sniffing around that. If you listen to Goyer talked about how he was in that time period, and that's what he was working on.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
That's
same
right,
type of
okay.
thing. And from the rumors that I had heard, Benioff and Weiss were working on the same thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's why it was weird when Kathleen Kennedy was like, oh yeah, James came in with this idea to do that. Then it's like, no, Goyer worked on that stuff, and so did. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway, all right, let's bounce back to this one. Ian Smart, 4158. We've seen what happens when Lucasfilm gives the property over to someone with real cinematic perspective, so why hasn't Lucasfilm tapped David Chase or Sam Ismail or anyone else like that to do some new TV in the Star Wars universe. Seems like a no-brainer, and is significantly less risky than doing a movie that may not work. Well, I mean, that's what we were just talking about here with Acolyte. Leslie Headland did Russian Doll. Russian Doll is a very highly people love that show, and I haven't seen all of it, but all I hear is how great it is.
That's the first episode.
It's pretty dark, right?
Yeah.
So it's so that is someone along those lines. Now, someone like David Chase is not going to do Star Wars. That's part one. David Chase is not going to do Star Wars. But it also you got to look at it to it's similar to like the conversation with Marvel. They've got to be able to play inside the realm, and even though that Tony Gilroy is not a Star Wars fan, right? Mm-hmm. There's two things that Tony Gilroy has working for him in the Star Wars world. One, he's worked on Rogue One, so he was around the universe. He knew it. He understood it. He learned it while he was there. Two, he doesn't do, honestly, what J.J. Abrams does. J.J.'s like, I got this. Don't need anyone else's help.
Yeah.
He goes, what should be there? Oh, that's and that fits into the universe? Oh, yeah, put it in the back shelf then. Okay, that they'll know what that means? Okay, great. Then do that. He's not like, don't put that in there. It doesn't make any sense. Great. If it works for he listens to the people around him. Diego Luna said as much. You know, when I was talking to him, he's just like, he listens to those people who know the Star Wars universe. He knows what's going on, and that's why it's so good. It's like collaborators who are going to collaborate and listen to the other people around him who he doesn't just, I got this, get out of the way. That style does not work. And it just doesn't work. You're going to run into major problems. Like the funniest thing about, to me, the original, the new trilogy. Yeah. The one guy that actually collaborated with everyone to tell the story that everyone was telling was Trevorrow, and he got fired. He was the only one. JJ makes his movie, however, he just makes whatever movie he wanted to make. Okay, cool. Rian Johnson goes, nah, I'm going to do this instead. Takes some things here and there, but for the most part goes, nah. And then JJ goes, nah. Because it was Trevorrow that went, okay, well, JJ set that up. Ryan set that up. Yeah. So, so Luke says to him at the end of Last Jedi that he'll be kind of around him and haunting him and that kind of thing. All right, well, I'll write that into the script, which what everybody thought was going to happen. Yeah. He's just on Octo. What? right. So it's like he's the one. It's collaboration. It's like, who's going to collaborate? Whether you know a lot about Star Wars or not, who's going to collaborate and work with the team?
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like Mandalorian, see all the different directors they bring in there, and it's about who they know and who they work well with, and these other directors you would hope, I mean, Leslie Headland is like that one example where it's just kind of like, oh, where did she go? Like, how she has a tie into it. No, she just had a great idea, pitched it.
She's a fan, though. She's a pretty big fan of that
and she is a fan, too. That's great, too. So, I don't know about, they had the director from Minari did an episode of Mandalorian. I mean, like,
sure, the director.
So, like,
they do. They write, and they got they have what's her face? The dudes who did Everything Ever All at Once. So they have them.
Oh yeah, and Skeleton Crew.
They got them in Skeleton Crew. So they do have people who are.
They do.
Yeah, they are doing that for sure. And it's like, and look, say what you want about Last Jedi. Rian Johnson's an awesome filmmaker.
Yes,
he's an awesome filmmaker. He really is. Regardless of my opinion on that movie, Looper. Rules.
Love Looper.
It's awesome. The first Knives Out, really good. Some people love the second one. I love the second one, but it's a little predictable. But he's a really good filmmaker. Yeah. So they have done that before. They do bring in these people, but they just need to collaborate in general. We'll see if that happens. All right. We'll do two more, and then we'll get out of here. So this one comes in from Angel Torres 623. So I'm a little more than a casual fan with Star Wars. I'm similar to Mike. Now, the only thing I get confused on is who is the New Republic versus the Empire versus the Old Republic. Can you explain, please? Thank you, and I love the content. I listen every day. Thank you, Angel. That's very kind. So the only thing that I get kind of confused with, right, is when they refer to the Old Republic. Yeah. Now, to a lot of Star Wars nerds, the Old Republic, as I was just mentioning, is the Sith versus the Jedi before the Rule of Two, like 1,000 years before, with Revan and Bane and all that stuff. That was like kind of like the Old Republic era, and that's kind of what Lucasfilm has slated as the Old Republic. They refer to what the Republic was before the Empire toppled it in Star Wars lore now as the Old Republic. So that's where it can get confusing, because if you're watching in the prequels, that version of the government is essentially what they refer to as the Old Republic in like Ahsoka.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not the official kind of Old Republic, but the New Republic is the government that was formed after the Empire was toppled. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I can see the confusion there for sure. I just know I remember it. Yeah, New Republic after the Empire, the other republics before the Empire,
Right.
And then Republic, Empire,
the other
Republic.
Republic.
The other Republic.
The other Republic. All right, last one. Mavit the Reaper. If Anakin can be seen and connected with in the world between worlds, what other entity in Star Wars lore will we see? Satil Shan, Revan, what capabilities do these entities have? I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore because I also don't think that as much. I loved that episode.
Yeah.
I loved that episode. I don't think it was explained very well of what the hell was going on. I don't think they explained how, like, because in Rebels, I thought it was explained very well. Here's this temple. They need to do this code between the father and the son and the daughter to be able to tune it in. They have a gateway. They have a doorway. That's how they were able to enter the world between worlds. That made sense to me. She falls into the ocean. Now she's in the world between worlds. How did she get there? Anakin pulled her in. He didn't. Like it was like, again, the writing. Writing is better in animation.
When it comes to the world between worlds, I think the less they try to explain about it, the better, because I don't think that's a thing you can really, aside from like how you enter it, you could have that discussion, but how it operates and why certain people go in there and what happens in there, I think should really just could be about what is important to that person at that specific time in the lesson that they're supposed to draw from it, the way that Ahsoka did with Anakin. I like that stuff, and that was even in Rebels when Ezra had to come to terms with you can't save Kanan the way that Ahsoka couldn't save Vader, right? So like all that type of lesson type of stuff works for me. She falls into the water, and then the Force was like, Anakin got one more last lesson for you, and to me, cool, because I don't know. I mean, like, sure, you could explain the Force with midichlorians or whatnot, and it's just the Force is one of those things that it isn't for me. I don't need a whole lot of explanation as long as it furthers the story for our characters, and if it has to be some unexplainable mystical force, cool.
But you think there's going to be any other entities that kind of show up in other things? Like, do they do that? Do they play with that in the High Republic? And I guess I have to go back to our previous question. The High Republic was like the interim, like after the Old Republic fell.
Yeah,
it looked like the Roman Empire, right? But it was like the High Republic was right before. It was like the last. Yeah, see, that was the thing. I think it's the Old Republic kind of transitioned into the High Republic, because the High Republic is about 100 years before Episode 4. Episode 1. So, it's all.
Yeah,
they'll have to explain it a lot more for sure.
What happens for who can like access it? I don't know that anybody's going to want to tackle that outside of Dave.
I don't think they should.
And I don't think they should either, actually.
No. All right. Well, that's the show for today. Thank you guys for joining us, and thanks to. By the way, if you did take a look at our sponsors today, thank you so much. The link is in the description. Really appreciate that. It does help out the show. It keeps us on the air. So, I'd like to thank my buddy Frank Janisch. Frank, where can the kids find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Scoundrels Inc. I do another Star Wars show there. Also on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. And we get a little more into the lore of things, if you will. And we do a little more deep dive in there. So if you're into that kind of thing, hop over there. Also, I'm actually going to be doing. Do I have a Kevin Smets blurry camera? Is that
so? I waited until the show was over to make sure you were in focus.
Phenomenal.
you finally went in focus.
Okay. Well, as I was saying, now that I'm in focus, I'm doing actually a virtual screening of my Revenge of the Sith Clone Wars Siege of Mandalore cut in our Discord channel, because I can't really post that publicly anywhere, right? So, but I can stream it inside our Discord channel. So if you want to hop in our Discord channel, I'd probably be streaming that in the next week or two.
Cool.
So you can go ahead and check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us as always. Thank you guys for joining us here. Make sure you comment, hit those likes. If you haven't already done it, show a little. We're almost there, man. 100,000. You guys can get us there. Just hit that button. Leave a comment, click the like, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.